Hey everyone, welcome to Group Text. Mario Cantone, let's say who you are, is best known for playing Anthony on the hit series Sex and the City, its movie franchises, and the reboot, and Just Like That, which is currently in its third season on Max. Okay, Mario, thank you for coming back. Now the question is it a
You're welcome.
loss?
Obviously, you're desperate for guests.
Not at all. My question though, when someone comes back, is always, is it because they had a really good time, or did you just block it from your memory? Bec-
I had a really good time. I did. I remember having a good time. I mean, yeah, and it's you,
Well,
and your mother loved me. So,
therefore,
but
by
I
the
was angry with you
why?
because you did a few tributes to your mother and didn't include me, and your mother liked me a lot. I did a
My
roast.
mother loved
Yeah,
you,
exactly.
and,
So where was I on your
you were
NBC tribute?
asked. You were asked, and your team was like,
That's not true.
he's not available." We were told you were
I'm not
not
available.
available.
I was not asked. It never got to me. I was not asked, and I don't get asked to do many things, so things don't like fall to the cracks. I'm not wanted a
Okay.
lot,
I
so
think
I
y
wasn't asked by whoever said asked me. Just know that, and
okay.
I should have been there because I love your mother. Look. I don't do roasts. I've done two roasts. I did Dennis Leary's,
Who is hilarious.
and I did your mother's
Uh,
because I went to college with Dennis, and I know him well, and I did your mother's because she asked me to, and I loved her very much. That's all. Let's put it to bed. Let's move on.
but obviously, we're gonna get into and Just Like That, because we
Yeah,
all know we have to promote stuff. This is kinda deja vu because the last
yeah.
time we spoke.
The last time we spoke, I was in Healdsburg.
Right, well, but we were
Healdsburg.
also in a fucking chaos part of the world because you were baking bread.
I was baking bread.
By the
Oh,
way,
in
yes.
real life.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I was baking bread. I've been baking for years. I've been baking banana bread and sourdough bread, and I make sweet potato pie, cookies. I cook. I cook. I bake. I cook. I love it. So the fact that I got to be in the culinary world in this new iteration was very exciting.
Well,
You know.
I'm holding a little grudge because you were baking and selling it, and
Yeah.
it was during COVID, and I'm assuming that the package of bread that was coming to me, you must have had the wrong
Oh, was I
address.
supposed to bring you a bread? Well, you were on
No,
the
no.
gift list. Apparently, your people said we don't want his friggin' banana bread.
She doesn't do carbs, which, by the I could live on carbs.
Oh, you know what's so funny lately? You know what's interesting? I don't do pasta a lot, and I don't do bread, but I've been working out every day, and I've been trying to stay in shape as best I can at this age. And I started eating. I heard that like sourdough bread is not bad for you because it's fermented and it breaks down a lot of the gluten, so it's not as bad for you. But I found some gluten free breads that I like. I'm not celiac. I just for the weight I eat that way. Gluten free pasta, I will do that too if I find a good Italian imported one. Um, but I do try to do that. But lately I've been like, you know what? I'm gonna have a little bread.
Yeah.
What's it gonna do? Like this morning, when after I'm done with you, I'm gonna go toast some sourdough English muffins, poach some eggs, put some ricotta cheese on it and some prosciutto, and put the poached eggs on it and eat them. Bam! That's my breakfast.
Love that. Maybe you add a little, which I've done before, which is a
What?
personal favorite, the avocado toast on the
Yeah, that's good too.
multigrain with the poached egg. Always
Go with sourdough.
delicious.
Go with the sourdough. It's bad for you. That's what I'm
It
telling you. It's not inflammatory like I am.
But yeah, I'm a banana bread lunatic.
Yeah, I love banana bread, and I make it. It's very wet.
Oh,
It's very moist.
oh
I
yeah.
like it. It's almost like a banana bread pudding. It's a little undercooked. It's really good.
Okay,
It's really good.
you're
Yeah, I sell it to this coffee shop. I don't do it all the time.
I
I
know,
do
but
have a
it
career.
was your side hustle during COVID.
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, my side hustle during COVID. You know what saved me during COVID? A couple of game shows,
Which ones?
Pyramid and Pyramid, and I think there was one other one that I did. Was Match Game during that time? I don't know. Anyway, yeah. And I'll tell you what else. Cameo.
Oh,
Cameos
I
saved me.
I
And I
find
still do them. I don't do them, I don't get a lot of them, but I'll do them. I
for
like
the
them.
for the last few years as the group Christmas gift to my really sick and twisted closest group of friends, I always find the most disgraced politician and have them do a
Who you?
personal message to our group.
That's hilarious.
I had them do
That's
George Santos was, I think, my favorite.
did you? Oh, that's funny.
Oh, yeah. And then you
And
can
it was
tell them kind of what you want them to say, so I make it very vague, but yet my friends get it.
oh, that's very funny. That's George Santos. Yes, he just did a cameo of lies.
Yeah, it was hilarious, and then I forget the other one I did, and he literally did it standing in front of a wall unit air conditioner.
Oh my god.
I was just horrified. Anyway,
Yeah.
we have to talk about you and the show and all that. Um, before we get into Just Like That, I didn't realize till I was looking at things how many, like, extremely significant Broadway credits you had.
Yeah. I've
Um,
done 5 Broadway shows.
is theater really your first love?
It was. I mean, I'm older now, it's exhausting. Not that I wouldn't do it again, 'cause I would love to do a play or a musical. I was involved with the musical that was supposed to come in and never did because it just got chipped away at, as far as I'm concerned. It was good when it started, and then it wasn't. Um, but, I do love it. My first Broadway show, I was 36 years old. It was in 1995, and I replaced Nathan Lane in a Terrence McNally comedy called Love, Valor, Compassion, which was about a group of gay friends. And it took place, it was 3 acts. Each act was a different holiday weekend in the summer. And it dealt with AIDS and it dealt with friendship. And it was, that was, yeah, 1995. And yeah, it was an incredible experience. I had lifelong friends from it. Um, Directed by Joe Mantello, the great Joe Mantello, who directed Assassins, which is another show
Yeah.
I did with him on Broadway, which was a Stephen Sondheim musical about everybody and anybody who ever attempted to or succeeded in assassinating a president. It's a musical by Stephen Sondheim, but it's
Now
brilliant.
but
And
now
then
was
my
this
one man
but
show.
wait, was this the Sondheim where he was into the part in his career where he didn't write songs that you could hum or sing leaving the
Well,
theater?
this I think for me it's my favorite Sondheim musical. There's some great songs in it, but he always did, but especially with this, he really wrote for the piece. And yeah, I mean, it wasn't like there wasn't Ascending the Clowns in there, but there was brilliant stuff in there. Brilliant stuff. It was for the piece because it was such a wacky piece. But it was phenomenal. And then the other show that I did that Joe Mantello directed was my Laugh Horror, my one man show that Showtime produced and filmed as a special. So, and then I did the Violet Hour and by Richard Greenberg, which was another play that was a big bomb. And then I did The Tempest with Patrick Stewart,
Yeah,
directed by
that's light and fluffy.
yeah, oh yeah, directed by George C. Wolfe. Well, it's considered one of Shakespeare's comedies, but it's I was Stefano. I was one of the clowns, and I was like, "This shit ain't funny." I was like, you want to scream at the audience. These jokes are 400 years old. You make them funny. It was not easy, but but I did that. I also did some Shakespeare in the Park. I did Grumio and Taming of the Shrew with Alice and Janney, which
Ooh,
was yeah, which was really fun. That was a long time ago. But anyway, yeah, I love theater. I mean, I would go back. Doing another one man show is a daunting thought. I'd do it if someone said, "Come on," but I'm not going after it because it's exhausting.
my mother used to say and for everything she used to say, she used to say, "Theater is the church."
Well, she loved. I saw her in Brighton Beach Memories,
Yeah.
and no, was it Brighton Beach Memories or
It
was
was,
it Biloxi? No,
no,
it was the third one.
the
Bro-
3rd
oh my god,
oh my
there was
god, I
there
was
was
just
Brighton Beach Memoirs, there was Biloxi Blues, and there was come
Broadway
Broadway Bound.
bound, Broadway bound.
Broadway Bound. I saw her in there. She was magnificent.
Yeah.
She played the depressed Jewish mother. It's all the same. The depressed Italian mothers. So all the relatives were depressed.
Oh,
All
yeah.
those women were depressed. It's such an accurate uh, depiction of women of that generation. She was wonderful, and I know she loved acting. I know she always said, "You can criticize my comedy, but don't criticize my acting."
Yep.
It's like,
Yeah.
well, yeah, no, that's what they
Unfortunately,
do, baby.
that's a big ask
Yeah, it
of
is a big
people.
ask, but but I think it's because it's something she didn't get to do a lot
Right.
that it was sacred to her. Uh, but yeah, I love theater. I really do. I miss it. And I live in New York, so I can walk to work if I get to do it.
which
Well,
is
that's the
great.
great thing about it, and just like that, and Sex of the City in the past, it was in New York. I didn't have to go anywhere.
And you don't
I
have to
love that.
yeah, you don't have to pack, you don't have to decide, no matter if you're
Nothing.
feeling fat or thin in the morning, it doesn't matter, I because
No.
when I pack, it has to be, "Well, I don't know how I'm gonna be feeling that day."
Oh, the night before, I'm like, I can't do anything. I have to, get everything together and ugh, count
I
my vitamins and my cholesterol medication. I mean, it's like, okay, you got to put
Yeah,
it all together.
it's a
It's
lot.
brutal. Yeah.
Um, you also, which I didn't know,
Well,
do impressions.
you knew that.
No,
I
I
did.
didn't.
I did a million impressions at your mother's roast. I did your mother. I did Betty Davis after the stroke, which she liked. Uh, I did Judy Garland. That was cut though, but I did do it. Yeah, I love, you know, yeah, I do. But everyone I do is dead. You know, you know,
We're trying to do that was part of the problem with the tribute show, is a lot of people always said, "Ooh, we should get them." We're dead, and that
they're
just
dead.
there
I've seen a lot of people pass lately. It's very sad and
it's very
scary.
depressing.
Yeah,
In the second Sex and the City movie, you had Liza Minnelli.
yeah.
Couple of questions. 1, did she know who you
Oh
were?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
She knows. Well, the opening night of my one man show, Laugh For. The first act of that closes with the song called "I Ain't Finished Yet." It was written by my husband Jerry Dixon and my late great friend
Mhm.
Harold Lubin, and it was a great tribute, funny piece that they wrote about Liza that Liza does. I mean, I certainly did it comedically and skewered her, but it wasn't mean. And she wanted to come to the opening night with 20 people, and I was like, no, she's not coming. I'm not doing that. So she didn't come, and she never ended up coming. But she heard that I did her mother, and that's what she didn't like. But when I do her mother, I basically put her up on a pedestal, and I think I make her very funny, and I sing pretty well like her. So I she didn't like that I did her mother. She's I think she's got a thing about that. But I met her through Fred Ebb of Candor and Ebb, who
Yes.
wrote Cabaret in Chicago and New York, and that's how I got to know her. I met her actually before that. We were managed by the same guy, Barry Croft, at one time, but I got to know her through Fred Ebb. Yeah, she was okay with me doing her. She thought it was funny. She would always say to me, because I was to do her in Victor Victoria when she took over for Julie Andrews, and her forgetting the words to the songs. And she was like, I didn't forget the words, you twit. Oh, you twit. You're a twit. Twit, such a word from the 40s. Um, but she was, she was great. She was good with me. She really was. I think I do a lot of work for Turner Classic Movies, and she's last year, which is my favorite thing to do in my life.
Oh, of course.
I watch it all the time. And the fact that I work twice a year, 3 times a year. I do the festival every year live, and then I do something different every year, and then I do October, which is creepy cinema with Ben Mankiewicz. I do everything with Ben Mankiewicz. He's my brother. I love him. He's like my bromance, and we have a great chemistry. But I did some '70s movies last year, and one of my favorites is New York,
Oh,
which I
yeah.
remember talking to her about. She was like, "Weren't you disappointed?" I was like, "No, it's one of my favorite movies." She's like, "There was so much improvisation. I just didn't know what we were doing. We didn't know what we were doing. We didn't." And I was like, "Well, it's brilliant, and you're magnificent in it. She's so good in it, and De Niro's phenomenal in it.
Yeah.
And I just love that movie. I mean, I know it's flawed here and there, but it's really stunning. And they were all partying a lot during
Oh,
that time, and
all out
Scorsese
of their
played.
minds.
He didn't know what he was doing, and every time he does an intro for the movie, he kind of apologizes for it, which he shouldn't because it's brilliant. Even if he was completely out of it, he knew what he was doing. But Michael Feinstein told me, he sent me a text saying that they watched it and she really liked what he said. So, I only, the people I do, I love.
Of
I
course,
love.
but good impressions come from a place of love.
Absolutely. I did your mother. I did, Joan Crawford, Jimmy Cagney, Bruce Springsteen. It's like Liza Minnelli, Julia Child was my first impression
When did you realize that you could do these? As a kid, were you
as a kid.
impersonating teachers?
I think I may have. I don't remember I probably impersonated a few teachers, but I don't remember doing that as much as my first impression was like Julia Child, and then like the Lily Tomlin characters, like Edith Ann and Ernestine the operator, because she was it for me as a kid. I mean, I love Lily Tomlin. Um, the big ones were like Lily Tomlin, Steve Martin as a kid, your mother, Robert Klein. Those were kind of the ones.
Robert, but was it
Robert Klein.
just yeah, but was
He
it
was.
just one day you just were sitting at the dinner table and said or just started doing it to make your family laugh?
Yeah, I always did it for my family. I always did. I had to do it for my depressed mother to lift her up a little bit, to make her laugh. But I would always do it for my cousins and my cousin Annette and my sisters and my sister Marion, who passed away in 2019. She was an actress, and she ended up being a teacher in the public school system in New York City. But she was a theater arts teacher. Her name was
Mhm.
Marion, and she students on the come up to me from like 30 years ago saying your sister changed my life, which is really nice. She was loved, and she was a great teacher, but she left the business because she couldn't do it. She was horrified. She couldn't sleep. She had a cabaret show. She played all those cabarets in New York, Reno Sweeney and When We Win and the Bushes and the grand finale. They were all like these very famous cabaret rooms that she would play, but she was a mess. She couldn't do it. She was horrified. you know was your mother nervous when she worked a lot?
I think
Was she nervous
she
before she went on stage?
I think she was always nervous with an asterisk.
Yeah,
It depended what it was.
yeah.
If you put her in a situation with a lot of A-listers,
Yeah,
she was a wreck as a
I
performer,
I
not as an
understand that.
interviewer.
Completely get that.
Not as an
Uh,
interview, as a
Yeah,
performer.
yeah,
I remember she was but again, this we go back to just people not appreciating and understanding because 'cause we're having this whole resurgence now where suddenly she's deified.
yeah, of
And what
course.
I wanna say, thanks for
And if
taking
she was here, people would be going after her for what she said.
100%.
'Cause you can't say anything. I just did the Carlisle. I haven't done stand up in so long. It's been 3 years. I don't really want to do it that much anymore because you can't say anything.
Right,
Can't
right.
say shit.
But what's interesting is, what she used to say to me, "When I die, I'm suddenly gonna become the genius." But it took us 10 years to get an
Yeah,
actual proper tribute
yeah,
on
yes,
TV.
yeah,
So she used to only, like, maybe 2 or 3 times was she ever asked to do comic relief,
yeah.
and she would be
She
a
was terrified.
wreck.
I would have been terrified. I understand that.
And
When you're with people like
yeah,
that, oh,
the very last time she did it, she called me after, I called her and said, "How'd it go?" And it was the only time I've ever heard her say this. She goes, "I wiped the stage with them." And that's the only time I've ever heard her say that in her life. She would
yeah.
do the other shows and she'd be like, "How was it? It was a good shot, this or whatever." But I think that's why she worked so hard was because she never felt there were laurels to rest on.
No, she didn't. And she also, I would say to her, I said, I said, we're so the opposite. I talked to her on the phone one time. I was like, we're so the opposite. I said, when you have a blank calendar, you panic and you freak out. I said, when I have a blank calendar, I'm like, oh, good, I can rest. I don't have to work.
Well, that's because you had a steady stream, especially once Sex and the City started.
But you know what? I was only a recurring role on Sex and the City. I didn't make a lot of money on that at all. I was new. I did 12 episodes over the last 4 seasons, but then I did both movies, which kind of
Right.
cemented it. And
But
but then this came along and changed my life.
okay, well, let's roll back. Your first shot on there was exactly, roll back, um, was a one-off. It was just and then it suddenly
Yeah,
became recurring.
yeah.
So
And there was already a
by
gay
the way,
character on the
if we
show.
if we weren't on, just because you and I have the same humor, I wanted to say, so who'd you blow on the first day on set to get them to bring you back?
Well, it wasn't Kristen Davis. Um, I don't know. And I told the story on Kristen's podcast too, and she didn't even remember it. It was one scene where I was in the Vera Wang picking out the wedding dresses, going, hates it, you're dragging, and explain all this stuff. So then there was another scene that we filmed that happened a little later in the episode where I'm trying to fit her in the dress and she's getting all anxious and the scissors rips the dress by accident. And we just look at each other and she's furious. And that was the end of the scene. So that got cut. That scene got cut, which was good because we didn't have that altercation. It was a silent altercation, but it was an altercation. So it got cut. So I don't know. They got a lot of calls and reaction to it. And he brought me back. Michael Patrick King brought me back. I remember running into him in the restaurant. He goes, "You know how well you did?" I said, "Am I coming back?" He was like, "Yes." I'm like, "Okay." So yeah. And then I came back. That was season 3. And then that was 1 episode, season 3, 2 episodes, season 4, 3 episodes, season 5, and 6 episodes, season 6. That's it. It's like Paul Linden, Bewitched. He only did 17 episodes, over the whole, all those seasons they did. But the movies were, really good for me. And then this, and Just Like That, coming back, and we're in our 3rd season, which is like, I can't believe it. I'm the luckiest boy in the world. I can't believe it.
When you got that call that you were coming back as a permanent cast member,
Yeah. Yeah.
after going through all those seasons of being a semi-regular,
Yeah.
and 1, 3, 6, not
Yeah.
ever really feeling like you have a permanent job,
Yeah.
which is the
Yeah.
most frightening
Exactly. Yeah.
thing.
It was, it was just as potent for me as far as people knowing what I do and loving the character. I mean, the character, I think, has evolved more, and it's a richer, deeper character. He has storyline now, but it was always a loved character, I felt. But when you become a regular, you're like, you just go, and you're renewed for 3 years. I have no idea if it's going on or not. We'll know sometime, I guess. But I, as Judy Garland would say, I could go on singing till the cows come home. I'll keep going. I love it. I enjoy it. I love the cast. I love I love those girls so much. I have the best time with them, all of them. And Nicole and Sarita, the 2 new girls,
Yeah.
are fantastic. The guy that plays my boyfriend he plays Giuseppe. His name is Sebastiano Pagazzi. I'm the luckiest guy in the world with him. He's a wonderful actor, and now we're like brothers,
Right.
serious brothers. We've traveled to Italy together with his friends, his family, and my husband, and it's just we're really close. And
Which
when
is
I had to kiss him at the end of this last season, it was a little weird. Second season, I was like, "Oh, this beautiful young man." Now I was like, "All right, here we go." It was strange.
What did you have for lunch? Did you brush your teeth?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah.
That's always a tough one. So you get the call, you're coming back, and the cast has not had the easiest time, and you were not really a part of the original drama of
No,
what went on with the cast.
no.
But you were there for something absolutely awful
Oh yeah. When Willie passed
when
away,
Willie
it was
passed.
horrible. Yeah, that was just. And I remember him telling, we were filming Big's funeral, ironically, and he told me that he turned his head and he looked like he was smiling, like he was joking, and I was like, and then he was crying, and I started to cry, and it was just, I was like, "You got to be kidding me!" Because he only did like 2 episodes, and he was so funny and brilliant, and we were just a great match. I miss him a lot, and he, there was a scene where in the first episode of the first season where we're out front of a theater going in to see Charlotte's daughter Lily's piano recital.
Oh, I remember this.
And we have this argument, and I walk off. And there was another scene that was done 3 weeks later in the interior where it was supposed to be me and him, and he was giving me shit about looking at hot boys, but I was looking at them to hire them for my business, for the bread bakery, for the hot fellas. And he couldn't make it. He was scheduled, and he was so ill that he could not make it. So they rewrote that scene that morning between me and Sarah Jessica. And I was, the court jester that day because I was trying to keep, Michael was like, "Do Betty Davis." He would like Michael Patrick and would always egg me on to do my impressions, and I would just go off and do them to keep it as light as possible because it was a heavy ass day. It was really, and then he never came back. And he passed away, and it was awful. Yeah, I remember walking into work the day after he passed, and I just broke. And Sarah grabbed me and took me off set and was like, just she was like, she's like the mother of us all anyway. She always takes care of us because she certainly probably had her moment the day before when it happened.
Yeah, I was gonna say you've talked about that she is really the mother.
Oh yeah,
And
and I love when we're on set together because we'll be sitting in our chairs and we'll just talk, and then I know when to leave her alone when she's busy. And she'll always say to me, I have to do this. I'm like, don't worry about me.
yeah,
Go do. She's so polite. And then there's days we sit there and talk for hours. So, she's a busy girl.
yeah,
But she's a big one. She's a big name. She's
yeah,
got a lot to do. A lot of people after her, a lot of people, asking for things and getting offered jobs, whatever. She's got a huge career.
absolutely. And I was gonna ask you what something people don't know about her, but actually, what I'd rather tell you is, for some reason, her son loved my mother
Oh,
and loved fashion.
well, he's
And
got good taste, your
well,
son.
Sarah asked my mom if she would write him a note. He and my mom became pen pals.
Wow, that's
And after my mother passed, I sent him a little silver letter tray that had been hers.
wow.
And I remember seeing Sarah after and her saying, the day of my mother's memorial, she was just completely freaked out because she didn't know which were the right shoes to wear to honor my mother.
Yeah,
And I was
yeah.
always so touched by that. So I was gonna say to you, what's something people don't know about her? But I think we both just said the same thing. Is there such a warmth?
Yeah, she's just she's bottom line, she's a good girl.
Yeah.
She's a good girl,
And I have to tell
period.
you, her shoe line, which I did a promotion thing for and I
Yeah.
interviewed her about it, were the most comfortable shoes ever. And
Well,
now they
she
don't
is
make them
anything
anymore.
she does that's kind of a product of some kind, whether it's shoes or a fragrance, she is hands-on.
Okay, well,
She's
ask her
hands
if
on
there is
this.
any back stock in size
Okay,
8.
I'll
I
ask
will take
I'll ask
that. If there's any dead stock.
She and her son James Wilkie, he's just I love him. He's a good kid, he's smart, and he's just and he's also, like, interested.
Yeah.
Say, he asks you questions. He's interested. He's not just a cocky little kid. There's none of that at all.
Well,
And I love
when
and I
Joan
love
Rivers
her.
is your pen pal
Yeah.
at an early
He's,
age, you're obviously smart.
you know your stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, by the way, there was a time because I do an impression of Betty Davis after I do her in all four stages. Early, All About Eve, Baby Jane, and after the stroke. And she was promoting the book, her last book, This and that she wrote with her assistant, Catherine. And she was on Garson twice. She was on. She was. Barbara Walters interviewed her, which was a good interview. She did some great interviews. The best one, and I'm not saying this because you're here. The best one was the one your mother did with her on her show, and I watch it all the time. But I see it on YouTube. It's the best interview, and she was so. Your mother was so humble before her, and so reverent to her, but yet she asked some great questions and about seeing yourself up on the screen when you were young and how you feel now. And Betty Davis kind of went into it. She's like, that how tough it was to look at herself back then and know what she looks like now. It was really interesting. But
S-
yeah.
So, since we're spinning that direction,
Yes.
okay, one of my godparents was Roddy McDowell,
Yeah.
who was the
Oh,
keeper of all
who knew
secrets.
everybody? And he had pictures of everybody. Yeah.
And he had these salons basically on Sunday nights, and you would have dinner and watch a movie. And my mother, Betty Davis, really wanted to meet my mother, and my mother really wanted to meet Betty Davis. So at one of the dinners, he seated them next to each other. And my mother was so nervous.
Oh, yeah.
She literally became tongue tied, did not know what to say. So she calls Roddy the next day, and my mom says, "So?" He goes, "She thought you were boring and she was disappointed."
because she was probably terrified.
Yes.
What do you say? Because you're afraid to be zany and funny and do your thing in front of her.
Right.
And what's funny? I remember her. She did 3 appearances on Garson, one before the stroke and 2 after. And the first one, Richard Pryor was on the panel with her, and he was so humble with her, so reverent to her, and she was really, the humility was just oozing out of him sitting
Right.
there. It was really wonderful to see. And then Marty Short went on, who I adore and is brilliant. There's no one's funnier. She said to him, "Do you do me?" And he said, "I think I do," or something like that. And she went, "Apparently not." And he was like, "Betty," he would turn to her and go, "Betty." And she didn't like that. So you could see that. So that's what I mean. When I saw that, I'd be like, I would have never been myself around her.
Yeah. They
But
she they ended up getting along, but my
I'm
mother
sure.
was brokenhearted.
Well, your mother, she was laughing a lot during the interview with your mother.
But that
She
was
laughed.
much later.
It
This
was
was the
later.
very first time. My mom's
Yeah.
like, "Oh my god, Betty Davis hated me."
She was boring and disappointing.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
that's funny.
Um, I wanna go back to the show. Cynthia Nixon has directed.
Yes.
Do you have any desire to direct any of them? No?
Nope. That's a
None?
lot of work. No, thank you.
Just do you think you could direct yourself?
Yeah.
Really? Because
Yeah.
I don't know how actors I mean, I know they can do it, but
I mean, if I
that's
was playing the lead in a movie, I don't know if I could direct myself, but just doing like, 2, 3 scenes during the show, yeah, because it's such an ensemble, that's all we kind of get. But I I think I could. I mean, I know, there's a series that I'm in the middle of filming, the third season of this mafia, 1980s mafia series called Gravesend, and it's on Amazon Prime. It's directed and written and stars this guy named Willie DeMeo, who did a lot of Italian American kind of independent films, uh, and he wrote me this part, Franco, who is this gay designer in New York, a childhood friend of this mafia guy that he plays, and they come back into each other's lives. And Benny, who he plays, is straight, and I'm gay, and I mean, it's not the main part of the story, but it's a nice storyline that he's very protective of Franco, and he never kills him, which is incredible.
oh, it's a
And
bonus. It's a
bonus, but
bonus.
there's and he protected him as he was when he was a kid because it's flashbacks. But all those scenes that I do with Willie, he doesn't really even direct me. I just do it, and when I watch it, I go, some of my favorite stuff because I get to kind of go underneath it. I don't know. I get it's a completely different character from Anthony. Anthony's very up. The
Yeah.
the tone of the show. Different shows have different tones. Sex in the City and just like that, it's heightened. There's a tone to it.
Mhm.
That's it's lifted. Where this is a drama, so I don't get to do that much of that. So yeah, I think I could direct myself. Who knows? I'm so much more comfortable around, with one camera and there's no audience. Love it.
If
I
you
think
couldn't do what you do, what would it be?
I always say I'd be a cook or a chef or a baker, but being in the restaurant business or being a chef, it's a lot of work. You don't make any money.
Mm-mm.
This is why celebrity chefs have to open restaurant after restaurant, write cookbooks and do television. It's no money, unless if you have just one restaurant that's really successful, no money. So you have to really work hard. But I maybe a private chef.
Oh. But only if it's someone that's really dramatic so it doesn't get boring.
Yeah, well, I wouldn't want to be a private chef for Faye Dunaway.
No, well, would you really wanna work with Faye Dunaway at all?
I want to meet her. I love her.
That's very
I know
different
she's
than
tough.
working with
I
her.
know I want to meet her. I love her. I know she's tough, but she's one of the last great stars.
Do you ever
Her and Kathleen Turner. I love Kathleen Turner. She is one of the last great Broadway stars. She really is. Kathleen Turner is one of the last great stars of the theater. When you see her on stage, when she did Virginia Woolf,
Oh,
she was unbelievable. She's I love Kathleen Turner. And I know her, and I think she's hilarious and ridiculous and brilliant.
yeah. I mean, and she chews the furniture.
Yeah, she's knows how to do it, man. She just does. You know, we talk about phases of a career. You know, she was this hot
Body,
queen,
what was it? Body
body heat,
Heat.
and now she's, you know, she's a character actress. She's older, but she's so good that she evolved into that. You know, it's so tough for women in this business. It really is.
It's beyond.
Yeah,
It's beyond. Um, you said what's next. There's so much I wanna say to you.
I don't know what's next. Uh,
Well, you're plugging in Just Like That season 3, which airs
yeah,
Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern
yeah,
on Max, so now I've
yeah.
done my job.
And TCM, we
And
got
yes,
Summer
Su
Under the Stars.
Summer Under the Stars in October for the 5th year
No,
to Creepy
no,
wait, in October for the 5th year Creepy Cinema
yes.
series.
And then August is Summer Under the Stars. They
Stars.
do Summer Under the Stars every year. It's one movie star a day for 24 hours. But they were like, why don't you do once a week with Ben Mankiewicz and just pick your movie star? So I did Joan Crawford, Jimmy Cagney, who I love, Shirley MacLaine, and Judy Garland. So that's on in August, every Wednesday in August. And then October, yeah, we got
Why
a lot of.
creepy? What's
Well, because
creepy?
you know what? At first it started out as like classic horror, then they renamed it Creepy Cinema, and this is our 5th year. When you call it Creepy Cinema, anything that has a creepy element, even if it's a sick relationship between two people, I can pick it. And I get to curate all the movies. So it's the best thing.
Oh,
Are we frozen?
I love that you have a dark side.
And you know, like from what happened with this thing? Okay. Oh, we like there was a movie last year, a Betty Davis movie. 'Cause sometimes I'll do a Betty and Joan night. And last year there was a movie called "In This Our Life" with Olivia de Havilland and Betty Davis. They play sisters, and Betty's the mean sister, and Olivia's the nice one. And Betty has this crazy, weird, almost incestuous relationship with her creepy uncle, who's played by Charles Coburn, who's like, "Ugh, let me see you, come here." You know, he's like, "Ugh," and it's so weird. And that was the creepy element to it. Plus, she's mean and terrible and takes all her sister's boyfriends. So I picked that, and I'm like, well, it's got to. And I think this year I'm trying to do Joan Crawford in Rain, which is just a weird, beautiful movie where she plays a prostitute, and they're I forget where they are, but they're on some island, and they can't get off because it's raining the whole time. And there's a preacher, a very holy roller, that ends up, you know, being very lascivious with her towards the end, and raping her and controlling her. So I'm like, well, that's the creepy element. I'm using that.
That is creepy. Again, and Just Like That season 3 airs Thursdays at 9 p.m. Eastern on Max. Mario Cantone, I love you.
Well, thank you, Melissa. I love you too. I really appreciate you having me. And you know, we'll do it again. If
Absolutely.
there's another season or something else happens to me, we'll do it again. Otherwise, you can just film me in my kitchen baking banana bread.